What's going on, Hearn, Texas? Welcome to episode 66 of season 5. 67. Oh, we messed it up. 67 of episode 67 of season 5 of Talking Coach Podcast Texas Style. I am Coach Jason.
And I'm Coach Janelle.
And we are throws coaches with the throwing club, the Throwing Factory. So welcome. Guys, remind everybody, too, that we have Coach Kai West at the Throwing Factory doing lessons, especially for javelin, outside of Weatherford. Then we have Coach Jarvis in the Mesquite area doing lessons and trying to build a team. But also, too, I'm happy to pronounce that we brought on another coach that can kind of give y'all more options, especially if you're in the West Texas area. We're brought on the legend Abilene Christian thrower, and from Longview, Texas, a good buddy of mine, Morgan Knight. Morgan will be running Knight Power and Performance Track Club, be affiliated with the Thorn Factory. He is located out of Abilene. So his information will be going up on the website pretty soon. But if you hear this and you're in that area and needed some information, just reach out to me and I can get you his information. So welcome, Morgan. We look forward to this joint venture and hopefully building the sport of throwing, especially in the West Texas area. So welcome. Also, too, on the thornfactory.com, remind you about the shopping apparel. Any sweatshirts, hats, skull caps, anything you need will be posted on there. Also, Coach Kai's West at the Thorn Factory shirts and apparel, and Coach Jarvis's East at the Thorn Factory is on there as well. So if you want to look cool at track meet, go to the shop at the thornfactory.com page, please. We want to thank our sponsors for Season 5. Of course, Texas Track and Field Coach Association. That website is ttfca.org, ttfca.org. For the latest track and field news in the state of Texas, go to ttfca.org to check out the latest. You can find results, indoor meets, outdoor meets. I know the weather's caused a lot of problems right now, especially in the DFW area for results, and meets have been canceled, but I do know that there's meets going on in the West Texas, but also South Texas area. So hopefully those kids are getting some good marks out there. 4throws.com, quality implements priced right. Go to 4throws.com, use the code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off. You can find training tools, all 5 implements there. We're screwing this up big time. But then also, too, our favorite discus, Fiber Sports Discus. So you can use the code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off the really cool, popular Fiber Sports Discus, founded and developed by Mr. Bruce Caldwell. So go on there and check that out. And then Porta-Circle, making throwing more accessible. Go to porta-circle.com. Use the code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off of your Porta-Circle, especially with the winter happening, and we've had a lot of ice and snow in the DFW area. What better tool to use, whether you're in the gym because the kids can't go outside or you're in your garage? Better to have that visual of, and that 8 foot or 7 foot for shot put Porta-Circle in your garage. Our favorite athletic development, Ready Up Athletic Development. Ready Up offers team consulting, semi-private, private strength conditioning in the greater Austin area. That's ran by Zach Phillips at 512-507-8347. His website is readyupad.com, and you can follow readyupad.com, Ready Up Athletic Development on Instagram or Facebook. Again, Fiber Sports Discus, a new way to get distance. Fiber Sports Discus is taking the guesswork out of discus selection. You can go to fibersportsdiscus.com or even back to 4throws.com and use that code TalkingThrows10 to get 10% off. And then remind everybody, too, that we are on YouTube as well. So we appreciate everybody going on there and watching. So we're going to continue to do that. Hope you'll like it. Gives a visual of seeing our pretty faces. So hope you enjoy that. So, all right. Our guest today in 2015 is currently a father of 2, working as a software engineer living in New Mexico. In 2015, he was inducted to the Texas A&M Athletic Hall of Fame. In 2001, he was an NCAA champion in the discus. He was also a two-time discus champion in the Big 12 in 2000 and 2001. And he was raised in Germany and came to College Station in January of 2000. Please welcome to episode 67 of Talking Throws podcast, Tolga Koseoglu. I hope we got it right. We think.
Hey.
There you go. Hello.
Wow. You're a good-looking dude.
Thank you.
Well, welcome, man, and it's an honor to have you on.
So you just pronounce every letter by itself. Koseoglu.
Koseoglu.
Okay, there
You
go.
got it. Perfect.
Perfect.
All right,
Perfect.
cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on. We want to start with how, growing up in Germany, how did you get your career started as throwing?
Right. That's an interesting thing because I wasn't really good at track. So we moved from one city to the other in Germany. We moved from a city called Kiel, which is north of Hamburg, close to Denmark. We moved to a city near Stuttgart in the southwestern part of Germany. Ludwigsburg is the name of that city. And my first buddy right there, Adrian, I remember, he was doing track and he was doing field hockey, which both sports I've never seen or done in my life. But because he's my first buddy, I joined him in both sports. I didn't like the field hockey because if you've seen that sport before, you kind of have to be hunched over all the time. My back started hurting. So I didn't like that very much. And then I started doing track and I liked it. I liked the challenge. I liked being challenged. I liked to do the running, the throwing. And in Germany, you start off with multi-events. You know, you're not put right away as a shot putter or discus thrower or pole vaulter. Everybody kind of starts doing a running event, a sprinting event, and then throwing a ball, 80-gram ball or 200-gram ball. And then you just move up the ladder from there. And tell you the truth, I wasn't really good. I was not competitive in the long jump or the sprint. I wasn't good with the ball, throwing the ball. But as you know, that's more like a javelin throw. Anyway, a couple of years forward, then it's now time to do a decathlon, which also I enjoyed, except for the 400, as you can imagine, and the 1500. That was not something I enjoyed doing at all. But my good events, the events that brought most of the points were the 110-meter hurdles and the discus throw.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And then for the 110-meter hurdles, there was just a huge field, right? So my next step, my big goal, in Germany, in track and field, the way it works is it's outside of school. It's not like here. So I'm involved with my daughter's high school team a lot. I coach basketball, I coach track. And I have no idea how this here works because, first of all, I didn't go through high school in America.
Yeah.
And in Germany, high school sports are very different. You are in what's called clubs, swimming club, gymnastic club, track and field club. So at that stage, doing the decathlon, and I'm realizing, gosh, I'm not really competitive. It takes a lot of effort to practice all these events. I want to focus on one thing. I knew I wanted to focus on one thing. So it was the hurdles and the discus. And then the next step for me was then, or for anybody, was to get to a state level of competition, meaning every state in Germany, there's 16 states, every state has like a throws coach, a sprint coach, a hurdles coach in track and field, right? So I wanted to get to the throws coach and I wanted to get to the discus throw, obviously, because that was my better than javelin, better than shot put. And so I made it. And but really, and I just told my daughter the story. Basketball ended yesterday, and we did win. And my daughter was distraught because she feels like she has to make this choice now between basketball and track and field. And I told her this story I'm going to tell you now. There was one year I realized, you know what? I have to step it up a little bit. I have to go outside of just the practice that is with my coach and my teammates. I have to do something on my own. So one summer, in those years, we traveled to Turkey for a summer vacation. I brought a little disc with me. And I threw that disc every day by myself. There was like a construction site not far away from our house. And I grabbed the disc, and every day it was like 110 degrees, 105 degrees. I didn't care. I started throwing that disc. I did some exercises that push-ups, squats, lunges, anything that I knew. I knew it's a leg-driven event, so my legs had to be strong.
Yeah.
And so from there on, everything is history. But that kind of set up for me the mindset that I have to work on this discipline by myself a little bit. I can't just expect to have everyone tell me what to do and just rely on that. I have to show some determination and some understanding of the event. And that's probably true for every sport, right? And basketball is the same thing. So quick side story, I do coach the JV team at my daughter's high school. And, I asked them, how many of you are watching basketball? Barely anybody, right? So it's hard for them to learn things or understand certain things if you don't understand the matter. What are we really trying to accomplish here? And then the discus, obviously much easier in that regard. It's like, okay, what are we trying to do? Biomechanics, right? We're trying to be relaxed with our upper body, let the legs drive. That's a much easier concept to grasp. But at the end of the day, you just have to do it, right? You have to do it because everything happens so quick in less than a second. And you have to remember all these things that are your strength and your weaknesses, what you want to rely on, want to watch my right leg, I want to watch my left leg, I want to stay patient, right? That was my problem. I just wanted to go instead of being patient, take my time. So that's how it all started. And then I moved up the ranks in Germany.
Can you give us an idea of how far you were throwing initially, when you were a decathlete in discus? Like, how were you throwing 120 feet as a youth?
Yes, I'll give it to you. Now, I know the numbers in meters, so you have to do the conversion with yourself. So I remember my very, very first discus throw event, very first, was 22 meters, 22. It was a very interesting number, easy to remember, right?
Yes.
So then when I started getting into the discus and I took the disc to that vacation one time I told you, then the next event was over 40 meters. And that would be, what would it be, 130 maybe? 130 feet?
Yeah, right. Yeah, 130 feet, yeah.
And mind you, that's all 1K. That's a 1K disc. So that's different than here. In high school, the boys start right away with 1.6. In Germany, the boys start, the young boys, 14 and 15-year-olds. No, hold on, 13 and 14-year-olds, 1K. Then they move up to 1.5. Then they move up to 1.75. And then eventually the 2K disc.
Gotcha.
So that was my furthest throw with the 1K was 40 meters. Not that great, but it was enough to get me into what I mentioned earlier, the state coach noticing me and saying, hey, why don't you come and work out? He saw that I was tall or getting tall. I wasn't super tall. I was skinny and I had long arms. And basically he said, I had some attributes that could work out for me. And so
that was, do you remember? What was the throws coach's name? Do you remember?
Gernot Brecht.
Okay. Cool. What was his background as a throws coach? Did he throw for the national team or anything like that?
No, he didn't make it. He did throw about 59 meters. That was, I believe, his furthest throw ever with the men's disc. He was also a shot putter. He did like 17 meters. And he was a spinner, which at the time for shot putting in Germany was unusual, very unusual, because it's like, the Germans were gliders. You have Ulf Timmermann, you have Udo Bayer, those East German shot putters who unbelievably strong, I can tell you all kinds of stories on like training camps. This will take forever, but I'm happy to go there.
Well, that's the reason we
said before we jump into all those stories, I'm gonna go back. So you started throwing on vacation that year when you were young.
Yes.
Did your parents support that? Were they involved in athletics? Did they do anything with shot discus? So how did they support that drive?
No, great question. There was nobody in my family on either my German side or my Turkish side. There were athletic people. My parents are in shape. My mom still swims, right? But it was never on a performance level. It's just something they do to be healthy. But my dad played basketball, I believe, back in the day. But, my dad was young. My dad was born 1946. He was probably a high schooler in the late 50s in Turkey. It's a third world country. There is no organized sport. It's like you want to get a job, you want to make some money, right? So in Germany, definitely was different. And my uncles are tall. I have an uncle who's 6'6". I have another one who's 6'4". So that's where I got my height from. I'm 6'4.5" myself. But none of them were on a performance level. No.
Wow. Okay. So you get introduced to the coach, your state coach and stuff. So is he working with you technically in your discus rotation? Kind of describe to us how your technique was, what it was, in that initial meeting.
Yes. So I liked him as a person. He was a very nice guy, but he has a couple of side hustles. Let's call it that way. It's not a very lucrative job, to be a coach, just a coach for the state. So he was running a gym and he was doing some other stuff. So he wasn't very on time. He was, that kind of just like discouraged me. It was once a week that I only had time to train with him, and it was in Stuttgart. So I had to take the subway. It was a big deal for me, right? So I was 14, 15 years old, and it was after school. It was dark and but the great thing was got me excited was in Stuttgart, we have an Olympic center. Every state almost has an Olympic center, mainly in the capital. And that's for all the sports, right? That's handball, soccer, they have, it was next to the big soccer stadium. So nice equipment, very nice equipment. And we can throw indoors, which is something that I value a lot, because you don't worry about distance. You don't worry about you don't look how far did that go. You can get a lot of volume done, a lot of throws done in a small time. Yeah, we did a lot of technique. We did recording. We had how would you call that? We had someone, a technician, a photographer / videographer in charge of that. So they, from multiple angles, they recorded us, and then they printed out what is called a Bildreihe. What's that in? Like a sequence of pictures.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen that before?
Chronological. Yeah.
Yes. So every, tenths of a second, you see where your legs are, just for the person. Remember, back in the days, we didn't have cell phones, right? Here it's now easy. I do like a slow-mo for my daughter. Say, hey, look, your arm is low. Right. Oh, that makes sense. I get it now, right? So that was our way. There was our way of then giving the athletes, or me in this case, and say, oh, okay, I see. Oh, that looks weird. And then we would go look at the big guys, right? Jürgen Schultz. We would look at Lars Riedel, who are like my idols back then, who I ended up competing against. That was a few years later, but at the time, they're like my heroes.
So let me interrupt you. So did you, when you were 14, 15, were you non-reversing the finish like Lars? I have to ask.
Yes. No, non-reversing. That was a no. That's what the Americans do. We don't do that. We don't do that here.
Okay. I got you. So talk to me as a young boy, and you're meeting this throws coach and you're traveling once a week, and you spoke to it earlier. The legacy of the German throwers is just tremendous. From Schultz, Wolfgang Schmidt. Did you look up to those people? Did you copy them? Did you have any situations where you met any of your idols that you looked upon as a young youth?
Yes. A few years later, Wolfgang Schmidt, he used to live, he shared some time between, I believe it was Florida. He had a wife or a former wife in Florida. And, his story is quite interesting. And that would take a whole nother podcast. But he came by actually one time. He trained a couple of times, and the first thing he told me is like, wow, you're tall in person. Because I was in the newspaper. That was a few years later. I won the state championship with the adult disc. And then my coach knew him and asked him, do you mind coming just for one, for one training session, giving us some tips? And very nice guy, very, very nice, very generous. I mean, for what he accomplished in the sports of track and especially discus for a first guy over 70 meters, and he kept himself in shape and he trained hard. Even before our session started, I saw him doing like all kinds of workouts, and I was really impressed by him. And again, nice guy. And I did ask him the same question. I asked him because he kind of reversed, because I see like he's on his toes. He doesn't like jump all the way, but he was on his toes. Yeah. And I asked him over lunch, I told him, hey, Wolfgang, what do you suggest? Do you want me to throw like you, or do you think Lars is better? Because Lars at the time was the guy, right?
Yeah.
Super tall.
That's a tough question.
Yes. And he told me, no, do it like Lars. He's doing it the right way. So
really, he said that?
Yes, he said that.
Wow.
He said that.
So getting back to your competition, when was that first meet that kind of put you on that national level from your state? When did you start getting those big numbers? And was it something that your throws coach that only seeing once a week kind of implemented in your technique and stuff?
Right. So at the time I was one day a week, and with my throws with the state coach, and the rest of the week was with my own coach at home.
Okay.
And so I'll tell you exactly when it happened. 1992, I did not qualify for the state meet. For the national championship under, that's under 16-year-old, 16 and under. I did not qualify for the national championship competition. In 1993, I won it. I won it
wow.
with 50, and that at that time it's a 1.5K discus.
Yeah.
And I won it with 55.80, 55 meters, 80 centimeters. So I had improved a lot, right? The previous year, I threw 43 meters with the same disc.
Oh, wow.
So really what we did, it was a regimented weightlifting, resistance workouts, doing snatch, doing cleans, doing a lot of stuff with my legs, plyometrics, working my legs hard. I got stronger on top as well, of course, with bench press. That was my upper body, my max power upper body workout, which I tell you, Jürgen Schultz, he never done bench press. He doesn't believe in bench press. He says it makes him tight. What he does is flies.
Yeah.
He has like weights that he does flies with. But and from other coaches, I never trained with him. He was kind of like a distant guy, not very talkative, kind of arrogant in a way. God, he's the world record holder. Right? What are you going to do? But the Germans in general, right? That's why I like this country so much. Doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your name is. It doesn't matter what you've accomplished. People are much nicer. In those training camps, there was definitely a hierarchy, right? So once I make it to like the B team, the German B team, and that was like right before I make it to the United States, like in the late 90s. So we're talking now 96, 97, 98. And it's just like a hierarchy, and there's certain things that you can do and you're not supposed to say or supposed to do. And I find that so counterproductive. It wasn't very helpful. Like I would have loved for Jürgen to say, hey, why don't you come over here? Let me show you what I do. And during the meets, I asked him here and there, like, what do you do? What do you focus on? What is the one thing you think about when you start a throw? And he told me two things. Right leg twice. The right leg in the beginning when it sweeps past the left leg, and then again in the middle. And that's all he ever told me. So
really?
Yeah.
Wow. And that makes a lot of sense if you watch him throw.
Absolutely. Sure. And here's the most beautiful throw. And that was my number one goal. When I then realized, okay, I'm going to be a discus thrower, right? So I won the German championship in 1993 for the under 16-year-olds. I repeated that again, 1995. For the under 18-year-olds, I won the German championship. And in 1994, I got third at the under 18 European championship in Hungary. And then 1996 comes around. Now I'm a junior. I'm throwing with the 2K. And now I'm basically in the big pack, right, of the veterans and then the younger guys who are trying to make it, right? So it's like a group of, I want to say, 10 to 15 people that could really want to go to, like, you know, the international competitions where, you know, only 3 people qualify, right? Yeah. So Jürgen and Lars, they have the first 2 spots booked. So you had the 10 to 12 people fighting for the third spot. And it became really competitive. Yes.
And you were such a young age, that had to be pretty high stress. Can you kind of give us an idea of what you had to throw to get that third spot at that age?
Consistently 65 meters. That was our goal, right? That's what between my coaches. And at that point, so 1996, I graduated high school. And then in Germany at the time, you either do military or you do some sort of social work. Like my brother, for example, he drove kids or school kids around. I went to the military because I knew that Germany had a program in place where athletes from sports like track, swimming, gymnastics, Olympic sports, but they don't make enough money to support themselves, right? You do the basic camp for 2 months, but then you are basically, you're still a soldier, so to speak, but you get a salary and you can train as much as you want.
But didn't,
so at this point,
correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Wolfgang do the same thing? Didn't he go in the army and do the same thing?
Right. His dad was high up in the army as well. And that was East Germany. And it was very different in a way because all of sports was really supported by the country in a way for their ideology, for the political ideology. They use sports as a weapon, right? And that's why they're so good and they're doped so much. And they're like always on these steroids. And there's all these records now. Jürgen Schultz, I mean, his records were revealed, right? And we all knew that. We all knew. But then again, everybody else was taking it too. So you take it with a grain of salt, you know. I think by the time we united East and West Germany, I think they were doing regular doping tests. I got regular tested, and I'm sure those guys were regularly tested. Yeah. And they were so good in their technique and their strength. I mean, Jürgen Schultz is about my height. But when he throws the disc and his arms are so loose and so long and his hands are big and strong, I mean, it is just, it was not a miracle to me that he could throw that far. He had a great technique, the best technique, and he had strength, obviously. He threw like, so what he liked to throw was a metal stick. A metal stick,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word, like a pole, like a pole that's maybe a foot long.
A weighted object, yeah.
Right, a weighted. And he also liked to throw the 2.2 kilo disc as a training implement. And he was very good with those. And I saw him throw those, and he was really, really good. Anyway, I'm digressing. I have so much information that I'm now never thought of.
No, you're doing awesome. So getting back to, you peaked, I think, at the U20s, and that was kind of your first time to meet Coach De La Garza, right?
Right. So I have to back up a little bit.
Yeah,
so
go ahead, please do.
So 1993 was a big year for me. I said already, I won the German. I was like, okay, bam. Then again, 1995, great, awesome. And now 1996 comes around, and I'm a junior, which throws the 2K for the first time. Yeah. Great. Okay, so now I'm trying to make it. But at that German championship, now for the first time, I'm throwing with all the adults. I made, there was no pre-qualify, like these two heats. It was all like a one big group. And then the next 12 people make it to the next round. I made that. I was super excited. I'm now here. I'm one of the top 12 throwers in Germany. And I got like 10th or 11th, like 56 meters or 57 with a 2K. With a 2K, that's about, I want to say 185, maybe 190. Yeah. And I'm actually, at this point, I'm kind of going back and forth between reversing. I saw other people, and I was like, maybe I should try that. But that was only for a few months. I went back to sticking it, right? Sticking my left leg. I do want to mention one thing I forgot. Very, very early on, when I didn't even make it to the state level, I was watching videos of someone called Mac Wilkins.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard of him.
Yes. I've watched the same videos.
Yeah.
And I watched it not by myself. We had a couple, I had a teammate, a female thrower, and she loved him. She fell in love with him.
It was a long black hair.
Right? Yes. And so I never met him, unfortunately, but I tell you one other story real quick. Then I go back to,
no, go ahead.
I met another American discus thrower, the discus thrower of all times. Do you know who I'm talking about? Who won the Olympics 4 times?
From the U.S.?
From the U.S.
You would know that more than I.
I'm trying.
At that time,
it wasn't Adam Setliff. John Powell.
No, it's the guy who won the 1964 Olympics, 1968 Olympics, 72 and 76.
Oh shit! My mind went blank.
My mind went blank as well.
I can't think of it.
We need to Google.
Google it.
Yes. Earl, not Earl.
The only thing I can think of is Randy Matson, but that's the shot put, and it's in that generation.
No, yeah.
Randy Matson, he's at A&M. I met him many, many times.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
We interviewed him. He's
great. Al Order.
Al Order, yes.
Thank you. So,
Al Order.
If people are watching on YouTube, we're not that stupid.
Al Order, that's it.
So you met Al.
Huge hands, shorter than me, big arms, unusually long arms, and huge hands. He just almost crushed my hand. And he was there for an Adidas event with Lars Riedel and like some promotion, and I just shook his hand and introduced myself real quick. And he had like all these people that wanted to get a piece of him, and that's an amazing guy. I mean, you can just like in his whole like demeanor, he was very confident. I mean, everyone, even the big German throwers were like in awe seeing him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just like it was a big deal. It was a big deal, and I was glad I was there at the time. That was very fortunate moment of mine. So anyway, so I make it through the ranks. I'm in the military now, training twice a day, and my goal at this point is make it to the 2000 Sydney Olympic Games. That is my goal. And I know I have to deal with Lars, and I know I have to deal with Jürgen, which I will not beat them. They are throwing amazing. I mean, we have the world record holder. We have Lars, who won the World Championships in Stuttgart, 93. Then again, 95 in Göteborg in Sweden. 97, he won in Athens. And 99 in Seville. I mean, he's like the dominator in the 90s. He beats everybody. And so I know I got to beat these other guys, right? I got to beat these other guys. And long story short, it just didn't work out. I trained good. I just didn't have it, what it took. I didn't throw those 65 meters continuously. I had 62, 63, although more like 62, 61, 62. Then when I come to College Station, and then I'll start a new story on that, I go up a little bit more. But at that time, so 1999, the trials in Germany basically will tell who goes to the Olympics in 2000, and I didn't make it. I got about fifth or sixth, I believe. So I was like, okay, what else am I going to do? It didn't work out for me. And Chico kept calling me through all these years because A&M's offer track. I mean, the scholarship was actually right after my high school graduation, 96.
Oh,
but at the time,
really?
I was like, yeah, I knew I was going to make the military program there. And my coaches were like, oh, you can do it, stay here. And so I said, no, I'm going to stay here, right? Plus, I was worried about money and all that. I have all these different offers suddenly coming in 95 after the European Under-18 Championships. I got the bronze medal there. Boise State, I got an offer from Harvard. Harvard was a 50% scholarship, so I was in touch with them for a little bit. But then when I saw the numbers, it's like, I can't afford it. My parents can't afford it. So plus, I didn't have high enough SATs. And Chico was the one really that kept in touch with me. He asked me, hey, who else do you know anybody who wants to throw, who wants to come? I said, Chico, I don't know any of these youngsters. I'm sorry. And then again, 1999 comes around. And I say, Chico, do you still have something available? I'll still want to come. He said, yeah, of course, come on over.
Do you remember the first time you spoke to him? And, because, we know of his Mexican heritage and, he's not the most outspoken person in the world.
Not at all, right.
So from you being a young boy from Germany and there's this guy, nicknamed Chico calling you, that it kind of had to be an awkward situation.
It was a little bit different. I was excited. I didn't really know what to think, right? I was, like you said, Chico was a man and still is a man of few words, but he basically just wanted to know the numbers, right? What numbers, what can you throw? And we're interested for you to come over here. Everything will be paid for. You get an education. And that was appealing, right? Now, he wasn't enticing me, right? He was just stating the fact because I asked him questions to things that I didn't know. I didn't understand scholarships because in Germany, everything is free. Universities are free. What does it all mean? What exactly is free? What is my responsibility? What do I have to do? And then his wife, Christy, was very helpful as well.
Oh, she was? Okay.
Yes, she was very much involved. She was at the time the academic liaison or academic advisor or something like that. So I was actually more in touch with her than I was with Chico via email and all that. So
that makes sense.
No, Christy, I love Christy. She's awesome. She's really, really good.
Wow.
And
so
that was that.
So did you hear of College Station? Did you hear of, Texas A&M, the folklore and, the excitement around Texas A&M? Did you have an idea of Texas or anything like that from your youth?
Nothing. I knew nothing about Texas. All I know is cowboys, cowboy hat, horses. That's what you imagine when you hear the word Texas in Germany, right? That's our John Wayne or cowboys and all that stuff. I had no idea. What Texas A&M was, the culture or the university, all that stuff. But I tell you a crazy story. So that's me, right? Not knowing. And then in 1999, the fall comes around. I'm done with the military. I do one semester in Germany just to keep a door open, just in case something goes wrong. And then in November of 1999, in the main German news, there's only two channels, right? And the main news come out at 8 p.m. And they're starting with a story about Texas A&M. I was like, what is going on? And it was the bonfire accident.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yes, it was covered. People died. This tragic accident, thing collapsed. And I was like, this is is that some sort of foreboding? Like, why would that come on the month before I was supposed to travel? But I thought about it more afterwards than maybe at the time. I just took it as an unfortunate news, and I tried to do research, but then it's 1999, so the internet is not really what it is now. So I'm getting like some sort of mapping application on my computer. I want to see the geography, where is College Station, where am I going? How does it look like? How's the weather gonna be? I had no idea. But at the end of the day, when I arrived there in January 8th, 2000.
Yeah.
So Chico and Christy picked me up from the airport in Houston.
And drive you to College Station.
And drove me to College Station. It was the first time for me in the US. And it was so cool because back in the day, people could just walk up to the gate. So I exit the airport and there's Chico and Christy. And
wow.
I was just in awe. I took everything in. It was the greatest time of my life. I was like on another planet. That's how I felt.
At this time too, what was your parents? Were they supportive of you coming to College Station A&M, or they kind of leery? What was their mindset like?
Oh, they were totally supportive. They're very excited for me. They're very happy for me. I called them, of course, right away. It was a Sunday. January 8th was the Sunday, I believe, or Saturday. I don't remember now with the jet lag. I called them right away, and they just wanted to know if I make it safe and sound. And then, Chico drove me to my dorm, and the rest is history. The rest is just, training and competing and getting after it.
So, wow. So what was it like? So what was it being a college student now in that situation? And I think the military might have helped you in that environment, but what was the big difference? And you were probably exposed to the women of Texas A&M, which was maybe not something you've been used to, and then you had wings or more, the Dixie chicken, two-stepping, barbecue.
Right. Barbecue, yeah.
Yes, no, I had McDonald's. My first food in College Station was McDonald's on Wellborn, the one by the
seriously, that's where he took you, was McDonald's?
Yes.
Just because you saw those commercials on TV back home and that's what you wanted to.
I love McDonald's back home, but I didn't have it every day. It was like a treat back in Germany, right?
Gotcha.
So, but I have to tell you, in Germany, those burgers and everything that comes out, it looks just like on those pictures. They're pristine, they're nice.
Yeah.
And I go to the one in College Station, it's like dripping grease and the cheese is hanging out. I was like, oh, that's not how I remember it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So what was that first day of training like with Chico, face to face with him? Did he, was his mindset? I'm sure you were a very polished thrower. Was there something that he wanted to implement and saw in your throwing? What kind of was that, trust value that y'all had to build together?
Yeah, that's a good question. He told me right away on the first day of practice, he told me, look, like you said, you're a polished, you're a developed thrower. If you need me to help you with your form, and he has a very good understanding of the discus throw, and he was very helpful of improving my technique and finding some other ways to get more distance. I followed my own weight training regimen. The conditioning part in the September, October, November, I kind of followed them a little bit as well. But then, I've done it so many times that rhythm of, the volume workout and then trying to peak in April, May, June, that I was very confident with that workout. But Chico gave me all the freedom. He gave me everything I needed. I just brought my heavy implements. He didn't have, so I told you about that 2.2 disc. I liked a lot the 2.5 plate. It was just a round plate.
Yes.
That was cut off from like, I don't know, maybe like 6-7 inch metal rod. It was cut off. It was like a centimeter in thickness. I liked that a lot because I could grab it and really hold on to it and make my upper body stay back, right? Let the legs do all the work. So I brought that with me and he loved it. He still has them. When I go back, I was back in 2019 for a reunion. He still has those implements from 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you have some shot put background too. You threw a little bit of shot put. Kind of walk us through. What was?
Definitely excited about it.
What kind of did you like it, or was it something that you were forced to do? I know you threw it a couple times in College Station.
Right. I mean, I enjoy doing it. I was just like badge of honor, right? If you're a strong guy, if you can lift a lot of weights, why wouldn't you do a shot put? But I knew I didn't have the leg power. I didn't have the leg strength at the time. My knee started to act up with arthritis, and I was always doing the gliding, and nobody tried to convert me to the spin anyway. I was a glider because I have been doing it in Decathlon, and then even throughout my years in Germany in the early 90s, until I became a discus thrower, I still did the shot put for like team events in Germany. I told you between the track and field club, there's also not the individual events, there's team events. So I could get some points for the team, to win whatever the state. I gladly did that. And I gladly did the shot put in College Station. We had a couple of throwers there, which I threw with. And I just couldn't break the 17 meters, right? That was just my threshold right there. I got it to like 16 meters, like what's that, 54, 55, 56 feet. That was maybe 57 at one point. I did make the final one time at an indoor Big 12 championship. I want to say that was in 2001, Iowa State, I believe. I made I remember it was cold. And must have maybe Iowa State or maybe Nebraska. Could have been Nebraska as well.
Gotcha. Now, when you came to A&M, were you aware of the legacy of throwers that came, the Randy Matson and Randy Barnes and the Stoltzes and all the women on the women's side and the history of the javelin throwers? Were you aware that your coach was a Olympian in the javelin?
I knew about his accomplishments, his individual accomplishments for Mexico, being at the '84 Olympics. But I didn't know anything else. I didn't know about Randy Matson. Randy Barnes, of course, I knew who Randy Barnes is, world record holder at the time. I didn't know he went to A&M. It's like, wow, there's like a shot put legacy here. It was amazing. And then the first time I met Randy Matson was amazing. I mean, this guy's such a generous, humble human being for what he's accomplished in his life. And I couldn't break his school record in the district, right? So
I was going to bring that up later.
Right.
That had to be, I don't know if you've been into the new complex, but there's all these listings and he's up there first at like 1967 and you're second at like 2001. There's a big time difference in that.
Yes. He is just such a large human being. He just has the size advantage. And from the shot put, he has the strength. And I look at his form, and it's not a good form either, his discus throw, right? They kept the right foot really narrow. I was like, how did he do that? How did he throw that far? Yeah. It was in Kyle Field. He told me it was inside of Kyle Field.
Yes,
so there was no wind. I don't know. He's just a better thrower. That's at the end of the day. And I think it has to do with the fact that I also didn't make it internationally, right, with the adults. And I was just 1 or 2 inches too short, not the right strength. I was strong on the bench press with like 440 pounds. That was my strongest bench, but I couldn't kind of match that with the snatch or the cleans. I didn't have the equivalent in that regard. My legs did just not have that power. And I think that's why he threw that far. And that's why the throwers these days or the throwers back then were the far throwers, because they have this unbelievable strength out of their legs, their hip, that I couldn't develop. I just couldn't develop it, really. And that was, at the end of the day, that's why I didn't make it all the way to the top, I feel.
Wow. So let's get back into your throwing a little bit. Your first year on campus, you're the Big 12 champion in the discus.
Right.
And you follow that up in 2001 as well. Do you remember that first year there in the Big 12 championship in year 2000? You kind of had to say, well, I had defeat, trying to make my national team, and now I'm a champion. I'm guessing that might have been your first big win besides as a youth.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I arrive in College Station feeling that there's some sort of expectation, right? I feel very grateful for such an opportunity to study for free and do all this. So in my nature, it is like, I want to give back. I want to make everybody feel like they made the right decision, right? I think that's only normal. So I put a lot of pressure on myself. That first Big 12 championship, oh my God, I remember it was like yesterday. It was the worst weather imaginable. It was at Iowa State, Cyclones. Cyclones are hosting it, and they have one good thrower, a really good thrower, who then later, the next year, gives me another hard time. So we're starting in 2 flights. And it's pouring rain. The ring is full of water, and I'm slipping left and right. My first 2 throws go out of bounds. I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna make this. My third throw ends up being the winning throw, and it was a terrible throw. I go really slow just to make it inside of the sector. It was 56 meters. It's like 170, maybe 160 feet. I don't know. Nothing good at all.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the rain affected the other throws as well. I feel in my early youth in Germany, there was no indoor throwing. We throw outside no matter what the weather was. Snow, rain, there were days when there was like foot of snow and I'm looking for the discs. You see the impact, but then the glide under the snow. Where is the disc?
Wow.
Where is the disc, right? So that gave me this little bit of a confidence, I guess. I don't know what it was. It was luck at the end. So I won with 56 meters. And it's like, I'm glad, okay, I won the Big 12. Awesome. And now fast forward a year later, we're hosting the Big 12.
Yes.
We're hosting the Big 12 championships. And I put a lot of pressure. I said, I have to win this. If I not win this, then all of this was for nothing. And I was so nervous. I lost 10 pounds from the week before. They started interviewing us. There were camera people. The battalion came and interviewed us. Oh, gosh. And I'm so nervous. I hardly eat. I hardly train. I'm just like, oh, my God, what is going on with myself? I'm like, and then the competition is here. And my first throw, I don't remember it. I remember not even feeling the discus. I just wanted to get over with. And I go throw, and that was my winning throw, 61 meters. It's like 203 feet, 204 feet, something like that.
Yeah.
And that was in College Station, as you know, it's a good wind conditions and everything else. And the Iowa State thrower threw 60 meters. So he wasn't that far back. So he was quite close.
Yeah. Wow. Now going back to 2000, did you make it to the NCAAs? Because if you'd have won the Big 12, I'm sure that would have kind of put you, as one of the favorites that year in the Nationals. What I'm guessing you didn't make it. What happened?
No, I actually did make it. You're absolutely right. I keep forgetting about that event because I didn't do very good. I got fourth.
Yes.
It was at Duke. Duke hosted the NCAAs. I did qualify. Yes, I made the final. And of course, I go there to win. But I have these guys ahead of me that I haven't met all year. I don't know who they are.
The guy
winner,
from Auburn?
The guy from Auburn won,
Okay.
Gabor Mate.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's kind of an arrogant guy a little bit. I tried to chat with him, talk afterwards too, and he was kind of full of himself. I think he already had qualified for the Olympics or was going to the Olympics. So this field was like nothing for him, whatever. He threw 65 meters, really good, solid 65 meters. And then it got close. I mean, then it was a bunch of 62 and I threw 62 low and I got the fourth place by a little bit. It wasn't even that much. I want to say Casey Malone was probably second from Colorado. He's in Colorado now. Okay. Right. And then this big guy, oh my God, he was huge, shot putter. He was a Canadian, Jason. It wasn't Jason Tonks, no, because I competed against him the next
Jason
year.
Young?
Yeah, Jason Young, I think.
For Texas Tech.
Yeah, huge guy.
Yeah.
He got third and then I got fourth, right? So that was not very awesome. I was like, I was a little down because that was the second time I got fourth in a very big competition. In 1997 in Finland, they had the under 23 European Championships, and I got fourth by 2 inches.
Oh, wow.
So that was hard then, and it was hard again in 2000. It's like,
wow.
And
I'm kind of curious a little bit now we didn't talk about any of your academic side. Being a student athlete at A&M is going to be pretty tough. How are you adapting to having a roommate? Who are you living with? Kind of what were you studying at A&M? What was your perspective of 12th man Aggie football? Did you go to any of the games?
I did. So let me back up with the academics. So that was not a problem. I was used to time management from high school again, because sports is not part of school. So if you have a competition, nobody gives you off. Nobody's going to delay the exam because you have some competition. So it was always school, study, practice, study, school, study, practice, study. And so I was used to that. That was no problem. To me, it's actually easy. The first 2 years with all those, 100 and 200 level classes, history and all that general stuff, that was super easy for me. That was like kind of boring almost. And then the last 2 years, I was a business. I was in the business, the College of Business.
Okay. And
that got more interesting. And I did more programming. I'm not a programmer, so I started to program on my own. And that was, that was more interesting because it was more subject specific classes. And then the football team, I want to say there was some animosity a little bit. Because I feel like they got a lot of attention for very little success. Now, I didn't know all the previous, with their conference win in 99 and the early 90s where they were very successful. I was just, man, these guys are losing and they're getting all this attention. So I was like, always some sort of,
So were you familiar with American football?
Not at all. No. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't know the rules. But I love it now. I wish I would have grown up here. I would have loved to play football. It's such a fun sport. And my kids and I, we go throw the football a lot. And my brother-in-law, he comes over. We throw the football at every, I love it. I love football. I would have loved to play football for sure.
Do you remember your first time you saw a game at Kyle Field?
Yes. Who did we play? I want to say it was either Iowa State or was it maybe Nebraska? And I didn't even know about the whole rivalry between us and the Longhorns. I had no idea. It's like another college, right? Another university. I had no idea.
Wow. Yeah, that's A&M football is a big thing, regardless if they win or lose. So moving forward to 2001, you win the Big 12 championships and you go win the NCAA championships in Eugene, Oregon. The home of Matt Wilkins. So do you remember that day? Do you remember the training leading up to that and kind of what was your mindset going into that meet?
Yes, I remember everything. I remember it because I had a good year. I had a good year training. I was injury free. I had one other meet on the West Coast. It was the Mount Sac Relays earlier that year. And I had such a good throw. I ended up throwing 63-20. Jason Tongs beat me maybe by a meter or so, and Gabor struggled. And I beat him.
Oh, wow.
He threw 62 meters, and I was like, oh, okay, he's struggling. I have a chance, but I didn't go crazy. I was just happy with my form, and I had this one throw. It went into the net, into the right net. That was my best throw ever of all times. Everything was loose. Everything was relaxed. I probably feel that could have been a 65-meter throw, but it went into the net. That was just from my own personal feeling. So regardless, I felt very confident. I felt confident. I felt like I could beat anybody on a collegiate level. So then Eugene comes around, and of course, it's a rainy day. It's people are struggling. I'm in the second heat, I believe. And I see the first heat, they're struggling. They're struggling, they're slipping, they're not themselves, right? So I go out there and I just put the first throw down just to have a mark. It was around 60 meters. And then slowly I move my way up, 60, 61. And then in a throw that I just focus on form, I said, you know what? Today, nobody's going to break their PRs. Nobody's going to be like crazy. Just focus on your form. And I, again, like Jürgen Scholdhofer said, right leg twice. And I tried to stay relaxed, and I kicked that right leg as hard as I could. And I didn't even scream. Usually the disc releases, and I go like, wow, all the tension comes out. I didn't make a peep. And all I hear is Chico and my teammates go, yeah, right from the bleachers. And it was like 62.5 meters or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the winning throw.
204 feet, 10 inches.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Do you still have the medal?
I still have the medal, yeah.
Wow.
I still have everything somewhere in some drawer. I put that stuff away. I wear my ring. I still have the ring, the big ring. I do have that.
I saw that.
Right.
Yeah. Are your daughters aware of what that you were an NCAA champion?
It didn't really click with them until the Hall of Fame induction, when everybody, my friends talked about, Chico talked about me. They had this whole video going, and that's when they really kind of, oh, Dad, you did all this? I didn't,
Wow.
Yeah. Now they do.
Yeah. Well, that day, Gabe got second. Scott Mosier, UCLA, was third. And then one of our favorite people is Giannis Roberts from SMU was fourth. So those are no slack throwers that you were throwing against in that day, for sure.
Not at all. They're good throwers. And all the SMU throwers were amazing. I mean, in the shot put, they destroyed the field. And Giannis Hoplin, I think, is another one.
Yes.
There are a bunch of good throwers from SMU. And like you said, they're all good throwers. And I think I just had a little bit of advantage because I'm used to the rain. I'm used to the bad weather. It didn't take my focus away. I had 2 pair of shoes, which I learned all year. I had brought a lot of, cleaning material, not cleaning, I guess cloths or like towels, because sometimes the disc traps water inside and it comes out as you spin and it covers your fingers and it's all over. You can forget about your throw.
Yeah.
So I made sure I had the right magnesium. I had all that stuff for that event, for that weather, and for that day. And I just liked the whole setup. I mean, it was an old setup. I haven't seen the new stadium, but I liked it. The discus ring was in the middle of the field. And I felt like every throw was far because we weren't at the edge of the field. We're like kind of like College Station, the old College Station. We were like a third into the field. And so I was very confident and comfortable in that ring and in that whole setup.
Wow. Now, were you non-reversing still in your last 2 years at A&M, or were you still implementing some of the reverse techniques? And what were you doing that day?
Yeah, non-reversing. I was non-reversing, stuck
okay.
it, and try to block on the left side as hard as I could and just let everything happen on the right. And I didn't go back after that 1996 season where I kind of played around with it. It just wasn't for me. For the same reason that the shot put isn't for me, because I don't have that leg strength in my quads to generate that power that you get from reversing, which is why you rise vertically.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that power. So I really focused on making speed with my right hip, getting that right knee come over, getting my heels turned around, and just being in that lunge position and just let it all drive with my hip motion rather than jumping up vertically, right? So
gotcha. Yeah. Question today. I don't know if you follow much throwing today. I'm going to ask you a technical question. What's your opinion of you seeing kids, being taught reversing and they're kind of jumping and, with both feet off the ground, the disc is still in hand versus, the non-reverse technique and stuff? Do you feel like you need to start with the non-reverse first, then build up to a reverse?
It's a good question because I have a friend of my daughter who's a discus thrower, and he shows a lot of poise and talent, and he asked me, Coach, you're telling me all these things, but I go on YouTube and everybody's reversing. So I see all the top throwers now and they're pretty much all reversing. I personally don't think it's a good way to start out because you're missing the crucial point. For me, the crucial point is the power position. You're in power position, and what do you do next? If you know you're going to reverse, I think you're going to skip all that. You're just going to wait till your left foot is down, and then you're going to jump up as high as you can, right? To generate all that power from the hip into the. But if you are not trying to reverse and you focus on what can I accomplish once I get into power position, stay relaxed with my upper body and flip the hip around, flip the right side around, and get my knee pointed to where I'm going to throw my right knee. Then you can still jump. And Wolfgang Schmidt did that. He did both. He did both sides, right? He waited. He flipped the right side around, and then he was so dynamic that he then at the end still came up on his tippy toes. But it wasn't like a classical reverse. Because he was in the air, of course, his body spun around because he had nothing to grip to, hold on to. But it was not what I see now is where they just kind of skip the right side completely. They wait till the left is down, and they just jump up and throw it. Mm-hmm. I would not recommend teaching that from the beginning. No.
Gotcha. Now, I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube of you throwing and stuff, and the thing where both of them are different stages. Your orbit of the disc. There were some times when I thought you were kind of high pointing it more than others. Was that something you were working on from Germany to A&M? The orbit of the disc.
There was times when I tried to have it when I come around and I'm in power position, have my disc kind of throw up. Basically, throw it up a little bit to that side and park it there for a while.
Yeah.
That really is not something I feel like works out in competition. In competition, all I told myself is, hey, put your left arm in front of here. That means my right arm will be in the back, and just focus on that. Don't open with my left hand. And that's instruction I still give to youngsters now that are just learning the fundamentals. Keep your left arm in front of you. That will prevent from you bringing the arm with you. And that's all I really focus on. Keep my upper body passive as long as I could and let the legs do all the work. So I didn't focus on the orbit, not really, no.
Not much at all. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead.
Well, this isn't a technical question.
All right.
Okay. No, it's not. Do you want to finish technical?
No, ask.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't ever ask all the technical questions. I ask more of the heartfelt.
Welcome back, track people. This is Brandon, owner of fourthrows.com. We're a fast and growing track and field company that specializes in the throws. With our speed shipping, implement warranties, and rock bottom prices on javelins, discuses, shot puts, and hammers, call us up today to talk directly to one of the owners at fourthrows.com.
So did your parents get to come watch you throw any while you were at A&M? Were they able to come?
No, they did not. They did not get to. No, they did not. I had one coach come visit me once for a spring break and a training camp, really a focused training camp. But no, my parents did not make it over here. They came after I graduated, and I decided to stay here.
Okay.
Oh, really? Wow. So during your transition from 2000 to 2001, did you, like even Christmas break, did you go back to Germany and stuff?
So the first 2 years, right? The first 2 years, I went back because I still competed. Like you said, I still wanted to there was a European championship in 2002, I believe. And there was other national championships. And I still was a discus thrower and I still wanted to compete. Knowing that I only had 2 years of eligibility at A&M. So with the 2001 season, my athletic career basically ended at A&M. I still had 2 years of studies left, but that was basically it. And I still wanted to continue throwing, of course, for Germany. And I went back in the winter, I went back in the summer to compete for sure, yes.
Gotcha. So were you still working with Chico after your eligibility to plan to try to make the national team? Was that the plan?
I did. Yes, I did for one more year. I did in 2002. I trained as usual, even though I was not competing for A&M anymore. And I actually had a very good year. I went back to Germany. I got second at the adult, national championships, which is a real good thing. Now I got second mainly because Jürgen Schult didn't show up. Lars Riedel was injured.
Yeah.
It was only the European championships. For them, it's not a big deal, right? Yeah. They already had qualified the year before, most likely. So I had to come and really show up hard. And I got second, which is a great accomplishment. It was my best finish ever at the German championships, the German trials. But I only threw 62 meters. So 62 meters is just not enough. Again, 65 meters. So if I would have thrown 65 meters for every time I threw 62, that would have been a different story for me as a discus thrower in my career, but I didn't. So 62 meters is really the distance that describes mainly my average throwing.
So your lifetime PR is 2099.
Right.
Where did that happen at?
That was in College Station. That was on a good windy day. And
okay.
That was on a good windy 63.94. That was on my home turf. It was my home ring. And again, it was one of those throws where I kind of just focused on technique. I didn't even scream. I was so long. I was so far back with my right hand.
Yeah.
That I had such a long pull, and then I threw it right into the wind. It looked like their disc was going to go out of bounds, but then the right wind kind of tilted the disc a little bit and fell right inside the sector, and it stuck into the ground. That's how hard it came down.
Oh wow!
And it was my furthest throw ever. Now my furthest measured throw, I had another really, really far throw, and I know it was far because it was a big meet, and they had these tape lined at all the meters: 60 meters, 65, 70, 55 meters. That disc in a warm-up landed right on the 65-meter line. And that's like one of those things where in the warm-up, right, you're relaxed, pressure, you're waiting with your release. And it was one of those very, very far from behind. I had such a long pull on the disc. It was in Germany in 2000 or 2001 in a meet in Kassel. And all the big guys were there. I was excited. The stadium was full. The Germans love track and field. I mean,
yes.
They know all the athletes, they know all their marks, and it's really fun to compete there. So just in the warm up, I feel the energy. I felt good. I was in good shape. And then competition comes around, I get tight, right? I get nervous now. I was like, now I have to throw 65. Like, what am I going to do, right? And then I got short. And that's it's a mental problem more than a physical problem, because you are putting so much pressure on you, and then it didn't happen. I ended up throwing 61 meters.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Big difference.
You've had a great throwing career. Do you look back upon it? I just sense from hearing you, because I'm a former athlete, and you always kind of like, what if I'd have done this? I could have turned out this way, but I had a good career. Do you kind of think about that sometimes, as maybe if you got maybe a break here and there, you could have been, an Olympian representing your home country?
It's a good question. I do think about it a lot, especially when I train with the youngsters, and I throw myself still a couple of times, and I still have that fire and that fun, just the fun to throw something. It is like the javelin didn't work out because of my flexibility. I can't really bring my arm back. And for the shot put, I just like always something here in my neck. That's why I love the disc. It's such a fun move and a fun throw. And I look back, man, what could I have done? So, you know, not to harp on Chico or other coaches, they are from a certain generations, but my body, like not every body of every athlete responds to workout the same way. So this whole idea of put more weights on, that in some ways hampered my development of my legs, right? I got a knee problem right away in College Station, early 2000. And I was strong with my squats, but I just put up more weight, I didn't do it technically sound. I should have focused on more the Olympic lifts, the clean, which was strong, but the jerk wasn't strong enough. And so I should have taken care of my body a little bit more. But you trust the coaches, and that didn't mean anything bad, right? A previous coach in Germany was very with his training log and all the weights, and he derived all the distances in discus and all the events really from how much effort you put into the weight room, and everything was logged. And of course we log our weights, but it's just like, how many total sets, how much total weight did you move? It was a ton today, it was 2 tons last week. Well, you got to do more. So that's the one thing. And I'm trying to pay attention now with my own children, just to kind of listen to your body. When there's some problem, your body tells you. And with the knees, is such an important joint for all the throws. It's for all the track and field, of course, but for the throws especially, because if you feel like some irritation in your knee or your legs and you don't develop this power out of your legs, it's very hard to throw distance, far distances, right? So definitely, that's the one thing I would have, if I would have kept my knee healthier for longer, I could have thrown further, I think, yes.
Is that why in some of your pictures and videos that you see that you kind of have a band that almost looks around your patella tendon? Is that why you're wearing those bands around your knees?
Yes.
Is it? Okay. I got you there. That makes sense now. So moving forward, tell us about that call you got that's saying that you were going to be inducted into the Texas Hall of Fame, Texas A&M Hall of Fame. And did Chico call you to let you know, or the athletic director call to let you know? And, you know, and how did that make you feel, considering you were only there for, you know, a couple of years?
Right. No, I actually, I have this group of friends. We get together, former throwers, Josh and Eddie and Luke and Ronnie, all these other throwers, and we come together once a year, except for the last few years with all the COVID stuff that was happening. But and we talk about it. We heard that some other athletes that we competed with that were on our team during our time had already been inducted, and we're just talking. One of them wasn't a national championship, but did other things really well. And they were just saying, "Hey, Tolga, how come you're not in there?" It's like, I don't know anything about it. I knew I was on a ballot one time because one of my former teammates let me know, "Hey, I voted for you. I was in this group. I was in this committee." It was Bashir Ramsey, who I met the other day actually at a meet in Albuquerque when A&M's throwing crew was here. And I met Bryce Foster, huge guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very nice guy. Very, very generous, humble human. Young kid, strong kid. And then Bashir was around the corner, and we just kind of caught up a little bit. But he told me, look, and it was like maybe 2011, 2012. He said, I voted for you. You were on the ballot. It's like, oh, what ballot? What are you even talking about? I had no idea. And then I kind of paid more attention. And then my buddies told me, hey, I signed up for some sort of former athletes or some sort of committee or some sort of group of people that is allowed to vote for the Hall of Fame. And we voted for you. And then sure enough, I get the call early 2015, not by Chico, not by the athletic director. It's by, what's her name? She is an assistant. Gosh, her name just escapes me, but she calls me. I know her because she organizes all the track and field reunions. And so we're in touch semi-regularly. She calls me and tells me, Tolga, you've been inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's like, wow, that's amazing. I told my wife, and we're super happy. And of course, the whole weekend there was amazing. I was super proud seeing all my my friends, they came to sit there at the table, and my family, of course. It was a super proud moment, one of the best in my life, really.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Did life come full circle for you at that time, considering, your trials and tribulations as a youth, making those once a week trips to Stuttgart to throw with the national coach, the little bit of adversity you had, and to being in the Hall of Fame at Texas A&M, that's a pretty big accomplishment.
Yes, thank you. I feel exactly what you said. It was a perfect day. It was kind of like a perfect ending to my career as an athlete, and just kind of puts the bow around everything. I didn't go to the Olympics. I'm not an Olympic champion. I'm not even an Olympian. But nonetheless, to me, my accomplishments and what I've learned, what I can give to my children or some other athletes who maybe become Olympians, maybe what I can teach them how to stay healthy or how to do the right way in the form even, or way doing the lifts, maybe I can contribute with that to help somebody. But for what I've done, for where I come from, that was the perfect ending to my career. And I was super emotional, and I get emotional now, because A&M was such a refuge, they put so much confidence in me and gave me so much love and so much, support back, that I felt now that was the perfect thank you for, hey, coming here and giving us a national championship. Wow. And here's this is for you. And I was super emotional about it, for sure.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, hey, while you were in New Mexico, did you meet a female thrower, Macy Irons, when you met Bryce?
I have not. No.
You didn't make Macy? No. Macy was one of my throwers that's with my club, and now she's a freshman at College Station now at A&M. Yeah. So she's at finals today. Chico, she's had a good year, kind of up and down, but she's in the finals. She's not in the finals. We're hoping she's in the finals today. But she's a freshman throwing in the conference championship indoors today, so hopefully she's going to do good. So. I think I did meet. Is she shot putter? Yes.
Yes, I met her.
Girl, big traps.
Yes, I met her. Yes, I didn't remember her name. I met her. She was with Bryce. They were hanging out together, watching the weight throw, and I met her. Very, very nice young lady. Yes.
Yeah, she was one of my throwers. So so Chico and I are good buds. We've known each other through the years and stuff. So, that's kind of how that finished up and stuff. So tell us what you're doing now. You're married. You're living in New Mexico. You got 2 kids. Are you running your own business?
Kind of. I work for a company full time, but since I work from home, and I've always worked from home, not always, but almost. I mean, except for the very first year, I work for an architecture firm. I do all the internal development, customizations of programs or databases, pretty straightforward stuff. But since I work from home, I get sometimes a chance to do other projects on the side, other programming projects for clients around New Mexico, or also teaching or coaching track, coaching basketball, which was another passion of mine way back. But then I, of course, chose the track and field route. Yeah. So I do that. And so basketball just came to an end. It was a very busy 3 months. Yesterday was our last game. And with the JV that I coach and assistant coach the varsity team. And so next will be track. So we already have competed twice with my daughters. We went to a meet in Albuquerque. We went to a USATF meet in Colorado Springs last weekend or 2 weekends ago.
Oh, wow. How old are your daughters? How old are they?
My daughters are 13 and 16.
Oh, wow. So does either one of them have some potential to be I don't want to say like a state ranked discus thrower?
Not a discus, I don't think, but the javelin could be. My oldest one, we've been doing javelin the whole fall, the winter, rain or snow or whatever. Sundays is usually our days. So tomorrow we'll be throwing again. She shows potential for sure. My younger daughter is probably a little too young yet. She does everything kind of. Gotcha. The sprints, the running, the distance, they do cross country also in the fall just to give them the stamina and the endurance. Of course, once they become real throwers, I don't think I'll make them do the cross country.
So have you introduced your oldest daughter to your fellow Aggie, Maggie Malone?
I have not, unfortunately. No, I have not introduced her.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you got a great resource as a javelin coach in Chico.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I talked to him. I mean, we talked business too. I told him, hey, Chico, what do you expect if my oldest daughter, Charlie, would like to throw javelin for real? And what do you want her to throw? He told me 130 feet. If she throws 130 feet, let me know. Give me a heads up. He sent me videos actually of his own daughter, Victoria, who's throwing.
Yeah.
I know Victoria before she's a little baby, you know, she's, you know,
Yeah.
she's a,
Yeah. Well,
she's
you know,
a,
his youngest,
she's a
Anna, has just signed with A&M as well.
I know,
Sure.
great volleyball player. He told me
Yeah.
her vertical is like a 40-inch or something. Amazing.
Yeah.
He has an Australian thrower. He sent me her video
Davidson,
as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lana Davidson. Yeah.
Right. And then one more whose name, I'm sorry, I'm really bad with names. I can't remember her name.
Fairchild. Caitlin Fairchild
Yes.
from Kansas. She went to Olympic trials as a senior. So
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
So I
he's
have
done a
all
heck of
those
a job of
videos.
recruiting.
Sorry?
I said he's done a heck of a job of recruiting. So
Yeah, that's
so,
great.
for sure.
That's
For
awesome.
sure. So tell us how you met your wife. Was she an Aggie?
No, she's a Badger. She went to the University of Wisconsin.
Oh, wow. How did this come about?
That was in my last year at A&M in 2003. I was supposed to graduate in 2003 in December. That was my year. It's on my ring. It says 2003, but I did an oopsie. In the summer of 2003. At this time, I'm done with track completely. I'm focusing on, you know, becoming a valuable member of this society, learning my job, learning my trade, and I love programming. And I love it so much that a company in Houston is giving me an internship. But I must have not paid attention when I arrived at A&M as an international student. You can't just go work anywhere. You need a work authorization.
Yeah, visa. Yeah.
I blanked out. I had no idea. They end up calling me in the summer of 2003 just to check in and say, hey, where are you? What are you doing? So I'm in Houston. And they expected me to be either in College Station or in Germany. So what are you doing in Houston? Well, I'm working for this company. They said, you cannot work for a company. I'm sorry, that's not allowed. You need to come here right away. And you, at this moment, you have basically violated your status as a student visa on a student visa. Oh my God, here I am almost graduating and everything is in jeopardy. They say, so I drive back to College Station. First of all, tell the company, I'm sorry. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks not working with them. And they understand, it's no problem. You know, do whatever you need to do. I go back to the International Student Services on College Station on the main campus there. And they tell me, look, you violated your visa. To get it back to status, you have to leave the country and come back on a new visa. It's like, oh, what do I do? Do I drive down to Mexico? But they put it in a way that they might not let you back in. Yeah. It's like they stressed me out so much for no reason. So I say, whatever. I'm just going to go to Germany, see my parents. There was not plan of that at all. I was supposed to work the whole summer and then be done in December. So I do that. I come back. No problem at all. Nothing was a problem. I arrive in Houston at the airport there. Bang, 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 bang. Here's your stamps. Please have a nice, time in College Station.
Good.
So now the problem is because I'm on a new status, everything starts from fresh. What that means is, as an international student, you get automatic work authorization for 1 year, but you have to be been in the country on your visa for 1 year. I have just arrived. So I can't graduate in December now. Now I have to take classes and move stuff around. So I graduated in May of 2004, which I end up doing. But to close the loop with how I met my wife, in December of 2003, which was my graduation, and I was supposed to go to Houston. Instead, I say, okay, what am I going to do? I'll stay in the States. I have a lot of good friends, of course. And one good friend of mine, Sean Walker, says, why don't you come with me to Santa Fe, New Mexico? That's where my parents are. That's where I went to school. You have Christmas with us and we can talk maybe about business. Maybe we can do something after college is over and we can start a business together. So yeah, sounds great. We did this drive from College Station to Santa Fe.
Oh, wow.
It was a spontaneous decision in the middle of like 7 or 8 p.m. So we drove all night long. We arrived in the morning completely exhausted. But that break, I ended up meeting my wife, Jennifer, who was also visiting her mother. She lived in Los Angeles at the time. She's in the movie industry. She does specialty lighting for movies and commercials, right? So that's her business. And she's taking a break. It's a very hard job. It's a very hard business. So we ended up, and the rest is history.
Wow.
And then moved to Santa Fe.
And then living
And then
back
moved
in
to
Santa Fe. Wow.
Right.
So does she have any athletic background? Just
not to my level. She's definitely athletic. She loves sports. She does, she plays basketball. She plays, she was on track and field. Her main sport was always tennis. But not to the level that I did it. No.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, that's a cool story. So you've been in Santa Fe since y'all met and been living there?
No, sorry. So after I graduated in May, I actually moved in with her in Los Angeles. So we stay in Los Angeles 2004, and then 2005 we get married. And then in 2006, our first daughter, Charlie, is born in Los Angeles. But then we already decided that, look, once we have children, let's move away from Los Angeles. It's so crowded here. It's so busy, bad air. And at that time already, I could work from home. I already had it set up in a way that I could work from home. So her mother lived here. She owned a house, a rental house that she had bought when she started making money as an income. And then we moved into that house in Santa Fe. And so that in 2006, we ended up moving to Santa Fe. And we lived here since.
Now, Santa Fe is a beautiful place to be.
Oh, for sure. My
you.
last question,
we
we kept you on here long. I see you're wearing your Aggie ring. Did you dunk it, and how long did it take you to drink it?
I dunked it and I drank it and I won it. But people say, I heard rumors that I apparently dripped a couple of drops of beer that didn't make it all the way down my throat. So the win is not fully backed up, so to speak.
Gotcha. Well, being your German heritage, I'm sure it was pretty easy.
Yes, it was pretty easy, I have to say.
Well, thank you so much for being on.
Yes,
what a great story. You're why we do this, because it's great inspiration from somebody, getting out of their comfort zone of their own country, and coming into the States and going to A&M to throw at a place like Texas A&M for a coach like Chico is just a really amazing story. And plus be an NCAA champion as well.
Thank you.
For sure. So
I had a great time. I'm honored. An old fart like me is even, allowed to share their thoughts, but it was a very great and very formative time in my life, and it has an impact on me of the person that I am now. And I look back to that time with great fondness, and I have made a lot of great friends, and Chico have a mentor and big brother, and just everything is just perfect. Really, my life changed to such a degree, and it becomes so much better. So thank you for letting me share that story with you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for being on, and we just wish you all the best. And look forward to seeing your daughters maybe throw at A&M and looking for some good javelin marks in the future for sure. So
thank you very much.
Tell them thank you for giving you the time to be on.
I know,
for sure,
amazing.
For sure. Well,
that's why I love
so
this
much.
country.
Yes,
thank you too.
Thank you so much. Take care. Well, God bless you. We'll talk to you later. Okay.
I appreciate it. You too. Have a great weekend. Bye.
All right, we want to thank Tolga. How do we say it? You say every letter. Koseoglu for being on. And he said, he knows he had to dumb it down. He said for us Americans, and then us Texans maybe even more so. But man, what a great story. A couple of things that I remember that he said about to be really successful, you have to go do something on your own. Yes, listen to your coaches. Yes, do all of those. But if you want to get to that next level, you have to have the motivation and the discipline and the mindset to do it on your own, to go above and beyond what the coaches and what you're being taught. And that's when he took his discus to
the next level.
Turkey that summer on vacation and just threw it on his own.
Yeah. And just what I ask, just aspiration he is to people who, we get in our rut where we just feel like comfort zone. We go here to throw, we do this, and we want to make ourselves better. We don't want to think outside the box. And, from, throws coaches here, from a throws coach there, from going from Germany into Texas A&M. I've never been in the country, never been in the state of Texas, and go to College Station and had the immediate success that he had. Is just an amazing story, and to compete against the people he competed against, and an NCAA champion, and then turn around and actually make the Texas A&M Hall of Fame and being inducted in 2015. Just amazing story for sure.
I really enjoyed talking to him.
Yes, and so, and hitting a lifetime PR is just definitely. We should have even asked it. I didn't even think to ask, is he a U.S. citizen now? I guess he is.
Yeah,
we didn't even ask that for sure.
Been here long enough, but just like you said, he had to do a whole nother podcast on the stories he has with some of those German throwers that we talk about. But watch videos of it.
For sure. And plus he's giving back now. I think that's really cool that he's coaching his daughters as well. So we appreciate you, Tolga Koseoglu, for being on.
Say every letter.
Koseoglu.
Koseoglu. So you have to say every. Hooked on phonics did not work for him.
That is so mean.
All right, we're going to thank our sponsors. Texas Track and Field Coach Association. Go to ttfca.org and check them out. They have everything updated weekly as to how people performed at meets, who hit PRs, all that stuff. So go look at that if you want to stay up to date on what's going on in Texas Track and Field. Fourthrows.com. Get your quality implements priced right. Go to fourthrows.com and get 10% off. You can always get the fiber sport discus and so many other training tools and things at Fourth Rows. Porta Circle, porta-circle.com. Use the code TalkingThrows10. These are amazing to have. That you can, if you're a middle school coach right now and you've got kids just wanting to start learning how to throw, and you've got 50,000 of them out there who want to try it.
Great point.
Throw a Porta Circle down and they can be getting some reps and getting some ideas without an implement in their hand, even because of the safety of all the middle school kids out there learning. But go check out Porta-Circle and get you some of those for your programs. If you're in the Austin area, go to Ready Up Athletic Development, readyupad.com. Check out what Zach Phillips has going on there. And yes, I said check it out again. And then thethrowingfactory.com. We're doing all sorts of lessons. Like I said, track season starting for high schools have already had some meets. Some middle schools are getting it going. So if you need some lessons, got a kid who wants to learn how to throw, give us a shout out. You got Coach Schmidt and Coach Charvis and now Coach Morgan Knight. So we've got lots of opportunities, lots of Metroplex area,
we have it all covered.
Abilene area covered. So come throw.
And just be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, and remind everybody about lifting DFW human performance, where you may start out as a 2-star but finish up as a 4-star for sure. So if you want to contact me, my information's on thethrowingfactory.com or on the liftingdfw.com for more information on our lifting programs.
Talking about lifting, Tolga talked about how all the Olympic lifts, how great they are.
Yeah.
For throwing or just lifting in general.
And work the legs.
Yes.
Work the legs for sure. So thank y'all. We'll see y'all down the road.